This week on Right Now, comedian Alex Stein joins us from America to talk about humour as a form of protest. Dr. Kevin Corbett talks to us about the rollout for 5 to 11-year-olds. Matt Tooth tells us about the Freedom Directory and how it's bringing like-minded people together. And Dr. Vincent Carroll joins us from the Republic of Ireland to tell us what life's been like over there for the last 2 years and how he opposes any future global pandemic plans. Plus, we showcase the latest work from Alice the journalist. Hello and welcome to Right Now. Not satisfied with spending his time with convicted paedophiles and sex-trafficked girls, it now seems that Prince Andrew surrounded himself with Turkish fraudsters and Libyan gun smugglers. Don't sweat it. But the former, it is claimed, provided the prince with over £1 million, presumably to help fund his considerable Pizza Express habit. These guys don't quite get enough of your money to spend on luxuries, you see. What is it within the human psyche that allows ourselves, even demands, to be demoted below the worst of us? And Andrew isn't a one-off or a bad egg within a dozen. A documentary this week revealed how King Edward VIII, once lauded as the only truly romantic royal, having given up his throne to marry the woman he loved, was actually plotting with the Germans to bring about England's destruction. Edward urged the Nazis to bomb London and even handed them documents informing them of weaknesses within the French military, weaknesses that were emphatically exploited when the Germans invaded. So again, I ask, why do we allow the worst of us to be elevated to positions where they have such unearned privilege and influence over our lives? Now that goes for politicians, for so-called experts, for media hacks. They've all been allowed to control the fine print of your life for the last 2 years, telling you who you can see, where you can see them. And many, no, most of you, complied with their demands. Why? Long to reign over us? No thanks. I think it's time we were a little bit more discerning. Our first guest tonight is an American comedian and social media star who's gone viral over the last few weeks for his very public and satirical takes on the Ukrainian war and events of the last 2 years. Alex Stein is the host of the social media channel Conspiracy Castle. He also recently appeared on the Tucker Carlson show, where he told the primetime host in no uncertain terms that he wasn't going to let the mainstream media control his life. We'll meet him in just a minute, but first, here's the kind of thing he's been doing.
We got to mandate vaccines, because right now I am losing housekeepers left and right because, listen, every time the service sends a housekeeper to my house and they test positive for coronavirus, I can't have them work around my kids. I have 2 trans kids in my house, both on puberty blockers, and you realize they are vulnerable. They're immunocompromised. We need more people vaccinated. And the Ukrainian Foreign Legion, and I'm here today to recruit some of you to go fight in the war in World War III. When you join Ukraine's Foreign Legion, we're going to train you. You don't even need any training. We're going to teach you. As a matter of fact, we'd prefer if you didn't have training, because we don't want somebody that's all messed up. We want to teach you your gun skills. You are a coward, and I'm a hero.
Alex says his goal is to bring laughter into the world in any way possible, and he joins us now. Alex, welcome to Right Now. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. We really appreciate it. We've seen some of your stunts that you've been pulling. What made you do that?
Well, Gareth, let me tell you something. So I started real earnestly going to these pandemic, or at the beginning of the pandemic, going to these meetings and talking to the mayor and saying, you know, a lot of these measures aren't based in science. It's really, this doesn't really stop the spread. Like a lot of they shut down all the public parks, Gareth. That was one of the first things. And the restrooms at the public parks, they closed down. And an 81-year-old guy I knew named Rudy, who had a colostomy bag, stopped exercising because he didn't like to change his colostomy bag in the porta potty because they shut down the open bathrooms and the public restrooms. So I went and I talked seriously, Gareth. I was like, oh, you guys need to do this. It's not based in science, blah, 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 blah. And of course, they gave me the non-playable character look that I was just some tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist. And then when I realized that if I can use humor, that I can draw them off side. So one of the first meetings, I just kind of threw in a subtle joke. Our mayor, who's married with 3 kids, but his name is Eric Johnson. I said, you know what? The gay community, you could be a gay icon if you went in the gay community and you gave free Johnson & Johnson from Eric's Johnson. And I called him the first openly gay mayor of Dallas, and his eyes, Gareth, got huge like dinner plates. That was like they went from non-playable characters, and that's the video game terminology of non-playable characters is in the game of life. You can't interact with them. You press buttons, but they don't interact. So what I noticed is if you can tease them, if you can mock them, then you lower them down to our level. And so once I noticed that, Gareth, I've been doing this now for about a year and a half, and my goal, and you're very aware of this, the elites, these politicians, they mock us 24/7. They literally look in our face, tell us you're going to do something, and do the exact opposite. So in my mind, I'm just throwing it back at them. I'm just using the same mockery that they use on us back at them.
It's humor I find so important in all of this, because it's been really easy, and I'm guilty of it, to get down, in the last 2 years, like I've had enough. So to see some of the clips there, honestly, it's so funny. And I think it's important that people laugh, isn't it?
Oh, it's the most important. And this is the thing. I mentioned this on Tucker Carlson, but a term that I learned from your father, from a lot of people, it's called trauma-based mind control. And that is literally what they use to keep us in this fight or flight state. They want to keep us in this negative vibrational, low vibrational state so they can literally harvest our good energy. So that's why in every single American media, and I'm sure it's, similar media all over the world, you're going to get a death scroll. You're going to get, get vaccinated. It's the only way. If you don't get vaccinated, you're going to die. Even our own president said we're going to have a winter of death and illness. Yet that hasn't happened. So they use constant fear and repetitive fear in order to control us. And sadly, this is across the world, but especially Americans, we're dumb. We're very easy to manipulate. And the bigger the group gets, the dumber it gets. So the humor is the only way to break people out of that mass hypnosis. And for me, as a broadcaster, I have a show, The Conspiracy Castle. I was like telling people, this is the new world order. This is the globalization of the world, giving you like kind of the old Alex Jones story. And everybody's heard that. But for a lot of people, they have what is called cognitive dissonance, where they know the government is peeing on them, but when the government tells them it's raining, they believe it. That cognitive dissonance, the government has lied. The government in the Iran-Contra shipped in cocaine and sold it all across America, the CIA, these alphabet agencies that don't have our best interest. But people suffer from such strong cognitive dissonance, they think that the government has our back, which that is not the case. So for me, I noticed the only way to wake people up from that hypnosis is to either make them laugh or make them question the reality in which they're living. Well, my comedian role model is a guy named Andy Kaufman. And Andy Kaufman was a brilliant comedian at mixing reality and fiction. So for me, that's been the most effective tool of waking people up.
Is that why you went, because you've talked about obviously trauma-based mind control, is that why you went through obviously with the COVID sort of nonsense that you're mocking that, and then you did the same then with Ukraine? In your mind, does it feel like it's the next COVID, basically?
Listen, Gareth, what I woke up to is 9/11. I believe 9/11 was perpetrated by people within our own government in order to start a never-ending war in the Middle East. And for me, that was my biggest wake-up moment around 2015, is realizing that 9/11 was an inside job. But what happened, Gareth, is we fought a 20-year war and destabilized the entire Middle East over terrorism and over weapons of mass destruction that did not exist. And see, the problem with that is we started a 20-year war, and conveniently, as soon as we get out of that war, all of a sudden we're injecting ourselves in the war in Ukraine between Russia and the Ukraine, and we're worried about that border. Yet the border in Texas, Del Rio, is being flooded with sex trafficking, being flooded with drugs, with immigration from Ghana, from all these other countries. So people are too dumb to realize that it's just one thing to the next, whether it's COVID, whether it's a war that's unnecessary, it's just going to be another psychological operation by the military-industrial complex in order to gain power or gain dominance over our lives. So it's really mockery. So it's actually pretty easy to go from the next thing the mainstream media is talking about. Gareth, I can easily just put a mirror to it and mock it because it's so absurd that we even have so many wars, that we even kill people for bankers. I mean, we live in a real sad society, and people don't realize this, Gareth. So that's what I try to do, is wake them up a little bit to the clown world that we live in.
What's the reaction been like from the public to what you do?
Well, I mean, it's been pretty good lately. I mean, I've gotten a lot of good reaction. You get some hate. You get some people that are just so bogged down in their life. They're under so much stress and hypnosis that they're like, why is this guy making fun of politicians? What is he doing? He's wasting the politicians' time. But that's a very small portion, because what's lucky with me, and I guess it's just luck. What I do, it's called astroturfing, is I pretend to be like you'd say the left side, and I mock that. So it's actually a lot of people on the left kind of realize that, and it wakes them up. So I'm actually getting a pretty good reaction from both sides, because if you try to mock the person that's being right, if you try to, and I'm not saying all conservatives are right, because I really put myself in the middle, it doesn't get shared as much. Like if I was to, go up there and say Joe Biden is an idiot and didn't get 81 million votes, that wouldn't get shared. But if I go and say Joe Biden's the best president ever, he got 81 million votes because he's so popular, better than Obama, that wakes people up. You have to do that fake astroturfing to help the people on the left that are just under that hypnosis I talk about wake up. So really and truly, the reaction's been incredible, to be honest.
So Americans get satire then? Because this side of the Atlantic, there's this kind of almost misconception of, oh no, Americans, I wouldn't do satire or anything like that because they won't get it, but they clearly do.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Americans have a sense of humor, that's for sure. And I think, comedy is probably our biggest tool against, like I said, you said this earlier, we need to laugh or else we're going to cry. That's how bad things are. So Americans, we have a different form of comedy, probably than the rest of the world. And it kind of maybe needs to be a little dumbed down. But like at the end of the day, they love the mockery. They love when you put a mirror to the Looney Tunes society we live in. But yeah, I think we got a good sense of humor here in the good old USA.
You managed to get into a local city hall dressed in a suit, and then you stood up and started rapping about the Ukrainian war. How did that go down?
Okay, well, let me tell you this. So this is we talk about the technocracy. It's so ridiculous. They take down people's channels, for the stupidest thing, medical misinformation. They'll take you down. I've gotten strikes for it. But yet, what gave me the idea for this to go rap about putting a bullet in the song? It's called Prayers from Ukraine. And I talk about, gas prices way too high. Vladimir Putin needs to die. And the reason why I said that is because they literally said on YouTube and Twitter that you can actually say that you want to kill people in Russia, and that would not be considered a strike. That would not be considered what they call bullying or harassment. Yet, if you spoke about any other topic saying, I want to kill Vladimir Zelensky, that would be a strike in 2 seconds. If you brought up the Azov Battalion, which is like known Nazis, you get a strike for that. So in my mind, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go crazy and say, I want to kill Vladimir Putin, because we had politicians like Lindsey Graham saying, oh, we need to kill Vladimir Putin. We need a Brutus to take him out on his own team. This is stuff that's not very diplomatic. So in my mind, I go, well, I'm just going to make fun of it. I'm just going to do a song and be as outrageous as possible, saying, I want to kill Vladimir Putin, and see if the internet gives me a strike. And it didn't just not give me a strike. It went triple viral. I can't even believe it, because it was just, it blew my mind how big that video got. I mean, tens and tens of millions of views.
It was Facebook made the announcement as well, didn't they, about that it's basically, it's fine to wish death upon Russian people. And I remember reading it and I was thinking to myself, just do it in your algorithm, just keep it to yourself. But to come out and openly admit that, yeah, that's fine, it's insane, isn't it?
Well, see, why would they even say that? It's because they love it. They love the propaganda. It's the same reason that Vladimir Zelensky was just at the Grammys. Why is a guy that's supposed to, about to start World War III begging us to have a no-fly zone so we'd have to shoot down a plane and literally cause World War III? Why is he talking at the Grammys if it's not to influence the social media influencers or the big celebrities in our city to tell all the peons like you and me, that we got to fight this war. Oh, this Vladimir Zelensky, he's so good. He's so good. Yet it's just another pointless war for bankers. Nobody wins. I'm a conflict interventionist. I hate the idea of war. I hate the idea of getting a gun and shooting somebody because of an imaginary line drawn in the sand. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's why they have to use propaganda. And listen, I'm not a Vladimir Putin fan. Journalists that speak out against him, he'll have him killed. But at the same time, I'm not a Vlad Zelensky fan. I don't even like him. But they will get Americans to cheerlead for these people blindly, because I have to admit, we're very easily manipulated. And that's the sad reality that we live in, Gareth.
Absolutely. Well, you're a comedian, so can you explain how you can get $1.4 billion like Zelensky got? Because he must be hella good at comedy.
Well, and listen, and he's a comedian, he's an actor, and that was one of the things. So at the beginning of the war, I go to do debates a lot of times, and people are like, well, Trump was an actor and a comedian. Technically, he was on The Apprentice, and a lot of people like him. But Trump's an idiot too. Trump sold the vaccine. Trump screwed over everybody on January 6th. All of his biggest supporters, Gareth, friends that I know, went on January 6th and they stormed the Capitol. But literally, they walked around the rotunda, they broke a couple windows, and now people's lives are ruined. I know a guy that's charged with felony assault because he had a crutch and threw it at a police barricade. A friend of mine, and Donald Trump didn't help them out. So it's like these politicians, none of them have our back. People they want to be split up on the right and left, but we know both wings are on the same dumb bird. That's the problem. So the comedy aspect is trying to shine a light and wake people up. So they realize none of these people have our back. None of them. If they're in power and they're the president of the United States, they do not care about you whatsoever. They just want to manipulate you into following orders because that's what the government does. It's just a people management system. And we fall into that constant trap over and over and over again. Oh, this guy's going to be our savior. Nobody's going to save you but yourself if you're watching this.
Amen. Amen. And also, if Trump had been legit, he could have pardoned Assange. People seem to forget that he didn't do that.
Wait, real quick. We had to talk about this. WikiLeaks. He won the election because of that, because of the leaked emails. He literally won the election for Julian Assange and did not let the guy out of jail. Makes me sick. The guy gave him the election because Hillary would have easily won if they didn't have Podesta emails. And the reason why that was a big deal, Gareth, because in those Pizzagate emails, they talked about Marina Abramovich, who's a known performance artist and Satanist. They talk about John Podesta talking about MAPS, which is another term for minor attracted persons. They have all of this code language, literally talking about child pedophilia in the highest levels of our government. And Donald Trump, during the debate, said, "Oh, I'm going to put you in jail." He didn't put Hillary in jail. Hillary was fine. Hillary Clinton, and then you got Bill Clinton riding on Jeffrey Epstein's plane 26 times, telling the Secret Service not to be there. They were doing stuff with children, with Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's a convicted pedophile. Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted pedophile as well. And these are our highest politicians hanging out with them, riding in private jets. Trump could have easily exposed that. He didn't expose that because he rode on those same planes. And Julian Assange, the guy that handed him all the information that literally woke up so many people, including myself, is rotting away and wasting away for nothing, for a sad reason. He should be free. But that's the type of president, Donald Trump. Keep America great. Yeah, right.
Oh, I can't agree more, mate. I can't agree more. Just to switch back to the Tucker Carlson interview that you did, which I saw, which was fantastic. Now, I really like Tucker Carlson. Whenever I see Tucker Carlson trending on Twitter, I'm like, right, what's he said now that's true, but it's annoyed a certain demographic of people? And you click on it, oh, he said that's true. And so what was that like to be on his show?
Well, to be honest, man, I was actually really shocked when I got a call from the producer. I thought I was getting trolled. I was like, oh, this is somebody trolling me, And luckily you talked to him. And it got to the point where Tucker Carlson, the producer, got my phone number and texted me personally because he really enjoyed what I was doing because, I consider some of this stuff I do as a performance art. When you go and do these crazy, outlandish things. And his favorite video was the one where I put on the military uniform and I tried to recruit politicians to join in the war in World War III. And he just thought that was brilliant. That made me feel really good. But the reason about Tucker Carlson is he's very base, as we say. He's based in reality. And considering all these other broadcasters like Hannity, he's a bum. A lot of the people even on Fox News, they give you this, impression, oh, we're conservatives, we're fighting globalism. They're the same ones that get triple vaccinated, get safe and effective, even though almonds aren't safe and effective for everyone. Peanuts aren't safe and effective. But trust me, the vaccine, safe and effective for everyone. So those people, other than Tucker Carlson, in my mind, are just part of the Mockingbird media that's controlled by the CIA, which has liaisons in every form of our entertainment. But Tucker Carlson, he just seems to be different. He seems to actually, talk the talk. But even he can't say, even he gets censored. Even he has to put a governor on his speech a little bit. And you look at guys like, Alex Jones. He's a guy that, spoke a lot of truth. But, man, he's under such heavy lawsuits because of the Sandy Hook case. Yeah. So there's really, in this day and age, in America, free speech does not exist. They will throw you off the internet in 2 seconds. So we need guys like Tucker Carlson that at least pushes the line. At least he pushes the line of truth and tells us that hey, not everything the government does is in our best interest. So that's why I really respect Tucker Carlson. But it's still not enough, Gareth. You know that. You know that these guys really went on the, television and actually spoke the truth of what's going on in the world and basically how we are being run by multinational corporations. We're not being run by humans. We're being run by literal companies named Pfizer, named Halliburton, that don't care about us. And when they act like they care about us, they post a black square for George Floyd when he dies. They post a rainbow flag when it's, the Gay Pride Month. That's all they can do. They don't have the ability to feel empathy. These companies like Apple, even in their own factories in China, they have to have suicide nets because their employees want to kill themselves so much. And so they will actually destabilize America. They will take away American power and dominance in order to gain control throughout the world. So that's the problem, because all these politicians are bought and sold like toilet paper. Any company that's going to donate to their political action committee, that's going to give them money to run their campaign, they'll cheerlead for all day long. Oh, we love Pfizer. Pfizer's so good. Oh, Moderna's so good. Because those are the biggest companies. They make the most money. And you look at the health of our country. Everybody's on antidepressants. Everybody's addicted to fast food. Everybody's fat, obese, basically dumb. And that is not hyperbole. Like, you walk around. I mean, I'm not trying to fat shame. I'm not exactly the skinniest person in the world. I am plant-based. I don't eat meat. That's my one virtue signal. But what I'm saying is we were literally under such bad health. And it's a form of control through the big pharmaceutical companies to keep us on these antidepressants that actually make us more depressed, that actually make you more suicidal, in order to just gain dominance and get so powerful. And we don't even have free healthcare. That's one thing is people say, oh, Alex, you're pretty conservative. Well, we really should have universal health care in America. Obviously, the health care would be crap. It would suck. But, Gareth, I know people that are afraid to call an ambulance because it costs $5,000, to drive in the ambulance and go to the hospital. So there's people that have died in their car trying to drive to the hospital because they want to save money. So we really have a society that only benefits the fat pigs that run these huge corporations, and not the man, the layman, the regular man. We get screwed 24/7, and that's what they're doing. They don't want us to have a middle class in America. They want you to be ultra rich or ultra poor, so you're totally reliant on the government.
Yeah, the Hunger Games society. Cheers for this, Alex.
It's exactly what it is.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking to us. I know it's dead early there, and you've got up especially for us, and mate, I appreciate it so much.
Hey, Gareth, it's a pleasure. I just want to say, I enjoy your show. Your dad woke me up to so much stuff, a lot about the trauma-based mind control. So really, it's just an honor to speak to you. It's an honor to speak to somebody that's also awake to the reality that we're living in. So I really appreciate any opportunity. I don't mind getting out of bed for you any day of the week. So thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you so much. Take care.
See ya.